I was so surprised when I came to Canada for high school because in my high school there were only 500 students in total, and when I was in my middle school in China, there were actually 1,600 students in one grade. And for middle school, there are three grades, grade 7 to 9. And also in high school, so it's the middle school and high school in China are two separate schools. The high school has another three grades. So just for middle school, there is more than 4,000 students. That's like a small town in North America, but that's just a school in China. So that's crazy. And you know what's even crazier? There's a thing called monthly exam. Yeah, in Canada we have monthly pass or like monthly subscription. In China we have monthly exam. So, other than midterm and final exams, you will be tested each month. And this exam is formal, you will be ranked, you will be marked. And the ranking system in China is something else. Firstly, each class has about like 60 students. So in my class, there were 65 students, and we will be ranked from top 1 to the 65th. And, and also the entire grade will be ranked from number 1 to number 1,600. And I remember when I was in middle school, I'm usually around like 600, and when I work really hard, I can be around like 200. I could not imagine what's life about after 1,000. Like what's gonna happen to the bro who's ranked like 1,600? Like, every time this guy is announced, like, oh, this guy, for example, Jack, he's ranked 1,600 in the school. It's like, any number higher than 1,000 doesn't make any sense for me. Like I lost the understanding for the number at this point. But that's not just like, there's even more crazy thing. The entire rank, actually not the entire rank, I think like before the 600, there will be a giant board on the gate of the school, and your name's gonna be on the board. Like, oh, we got the first guy, probably, Peter, the Peter number 1, Peter Smith. Your full name will be on the board, and everyone who enters the school will see it. And so that's such a great mental pressure back in time. And because this is something so intense, this is so serious, the ranking system is implanted in the psychology of the student in my school. For example, there will be a hierarchy that the 60 students, the top 10 will be like the first class, and then it's like the 11th to like 30s will be the second class, and the rest of the students will be the third class. And people call the top 10 and probably top 20 like, oh, they're the good students, and every parents want their kid to play with their good students, and they don't want their kid to play with the bad student, which means the rest of the students. Like one of my friend in middle school is actually considered a bad student, but this guy's actually smart. Like, bro is actually genius on some point. And I think the reason is that because he is only good at commerce, like making business. And also he's really good at making origami. But, the school, they test you for 7 subjects in my time. And I think for now it's like 9 subjects. So in my time, the 7 subjects are, in Canada or North America, it's like English, but in China it's Chinese. So firstly, you're tested in Chinese, math, English, politics, history, physics, and chemistry. And I think they added biology and geography right now. But anyways, when you were tested for 7 subjects, and your mark is the sum of everything. Like, that means that you have to be good at everything. It's like, what? You know, the course I was so afraid of back in time was math, because they were not teaching math in a correct way. I will come to that later. But I was really good at memorization, so mostly good at arts, like history. Oh, history is my favorite. And also Chinese and what else? English? Yeah, I actually pretty like English, and probably one of the reasons I speak English pretty well right now. And for politics, that's the worst subject, because politics in China, it's like, it's kind of like, oh, the leader is so great, the country is so great, blah blah blah, great chairman, Xi, doing something so great, and they kind of just use a lot of terminology to make it sounds, so much fancier and more scientific. And yeah, that's basically everything. I don't think that contain any actual knowledge, so I actually never learned that really seriously. I just force myself to memorize everything before the exam, like the last day before exam. I just spent the entire day on memorizing the entire book. And it actually worked pretty well. But the consequence is that after the exam, I forgot everything. Like, literally, I remember after one of the midterms, or after one of the monthly exam, I would just forget the entire thing, even though I remember everything during the exam. And but which means that not really everyone will be good at everything, unless you're really doing a lot of practice, like you spend your entire life on doing the practices, which are what they were doing for the top 10 students. And that's something I could never imagine. That's like, you just waste your life, Life is colorful, it's more than exams. Hopefully somebody can understand that as well. But even though I don't really spend every minute of mine on the practice, the school doesn't really set me free, because, oh, you won't believe that, my middle school start from 7:20 a.m. in the morning, and it will end in 6:50 p.m. in the afternoon, which means that you have to be in school for almost 12 hours. So that's like longer than the time you have to go to work. Or, I mean, in some careers in China, it's like also 12 hours. But yeah, anyways, so school is like your second home, basically. You spend half your day in school. And that was like, ooh, crazy. I still couldn't believe that I actually made it through that. And you will have like, if I remember correctly, you have 2 classes in the morning, and each class is like 1 hour and 45 minutes. And then there's gonna be a 20 minutes break, like a break. You have 5 minutes break between each class. But after 2 classes, there's a big break for 20 minutes. And you are forced to go to the playground and do some exercise. Just like do some, I don't know, it's kind of like moving around, kind of like doing Tai Chi. Not really, but just moving around collectively. And then you go back to third class, and after another 2 classes, then that's gonna be the lunch break. You can actually go home. I think that's like a 2 hour, and then on 2 p.m. you come back. You have the rest of the day for the classes for the afternoon, and around like 6:50, you're set free. But the teachers, they usually, I don't know, they're so hardworking. They love their job. That's how I feel it. they don't want the student to go home early, and sometimes the teachers will occupy the break, the 5 minutes. Oh my god, the pity 5 minutes break. They will be occupied, and you have no time to go exercise or something. But if I had a break, my favorite exercise is actually just running around in the classroom building. Oh, by the way, the building, that's something else. The Chinese construction is something else. So firstly, we have 2 campuses for the middle school. The grade 7 and 10 are in the, it's like an actual campus. Why do I say actual? Because grade 9 is actually built on top of a supermarket. And I think that was actually transformed from a previous hospital. And which means that every time I need to go to the grade 9 campus from a grade 8 campus, I have to climb upstairs and go through a long bridge so I can get to the top of a supermarket. That's I don't know how to comment on that, but my school was the top one. I think that's still the top one school in the entire province. But they still don't really have money to have an actual campus. I don't know how to say that. But anyways, the third campus, the grade 9 campus, because it was transformed from something else before, the ceiling of it is actually really low. And the ceiling was made of like foam squares, like you have little frames on the ceiling, and you place like square shaped foam on above the frame. And because it's just placed on, it's not glued, it's not like nailed, it's just placed on it. So you can actually move it a little bit. And one of my favorite exercise with my bros is that we're gonna jump up and use our fingers to touch the square. It's like there's actually many forms. We're so inventive. And there's, for example, we are divided into 2 teams, and one team sent one person to jump up each time. For example, team A, I'm from team A, and I'm gonna jump up and use my finger to move one of the foam a little bit, like out of frame. And the other team is going to try to move it back, and the third guy from my team gonna try to move it away. That's like a competition, It really depends on how high you can jump, how fast you can react. And also there's another thing, it's like a group of bros, and we have one chance or 2 chances to jump up each time, and we're gonna hit with our finger as many as the square we can when we jump up, and the person who hit the most squares will win. And I don't know why that was really, really funny. I remember because the school started at 7:20. We had to bring our breakfast to the school. Yeah, we had our first class with an empty belly, and during the class break, I just leaning against the wall and eating my breakfast and watching my bros jumping up and down. That was so funny. I was like laughing my brain out actually each time. And also, the boys, they are so into girls. And there's a saying that so each of our students in the class is actually have a number. Like we have our own number. I think my number was like 20 or 12 or something, I forgot. And the boy's gonna like, the next person, I'm gonna make this number, for example, number 13. Number 13 is a girl. I'm gonna make 13, and for example, Peter, this guy, is actually fancying her, and he actually made the number 13, and everyone was like, oh, Peter actually number 13. That's actually really funny. Yeah, anyway, that's a story I'm gonna share for this podcast. Let's see each other, and if you want to hear more story, like funny story about my experience and also my friends' experience from this channel, hit the subscribe and see you next time.